What is going on, everybody? We are back as Mastercrafted, here to talk about another mission for y'all to play through. Phil, how you doing, buddy? Holidays rapidly approaching, almost the end of the year.
It is Christmas time, but we are trying to give you what you actually want for Christmas, which is more Mastercrafted videos. That way, when you're sitting there opening your new models and getting ready to paint them and build them because you're all so excited, you can listen to this Mastercrafted video to tell you about the best way to play Linchpin. Linchpin is one of, I would say, the the easiest of the missions in terms of how to understand it and how to execute on it. So, end of the command phase from the second battle round onwards, you score. If the player whose turn it is does not control the objective in their deployment zone, for each objective marker they control, they score 3 VP. If the player whose turn it is does control the objective marker in their deployment zone, they get 3 VP plus 5 VP for each objective marker that they control for each other. So you would get 3 for your home, and then you would get 5 for each, max of 15. So the general rule of thumb is you're playing for 8 versus take and hold, which is you're playing for 10 each round. So each round you are scoring a little bit less, but there is the significant negative downside that if you don't control your home, you are not going to score as many primaries.
Yeah, 100%. I do think that, obviously, we mentioned a little, right? We're playing for 8 instead of for 10. But it's one of those things, too, where because of this kind of funky math, it can make it way easier for having that bottom of turn advantage that we talk about when it comes to scoring. Like, hitting a 15 still requires you to hold your home in all 3 no man's lands in this mission, right? That's very, very hard to do ever as top of turn. You have to be really beaten up on your opponent to be able to pull that off generally. And that's a pretty big deal. So that's something you got to be cognizant of, right? It just implies, again, we talked about it, in take and hold. You have to get ahead, right? You have to be getting a points lead somewhere, because for you, even getting 13 is a very big deal for either player, right? Getting 15, it's nice, but those 2 extra points, that's almost a secondary difference, right? When you're looking at well, they had maybe a little bit of secondary draw that was better and stuff. Them potentially being able to hold that 3rd primary in no man's land for 15 versus 13 at the end of the game, it's an extra 2 points that you might not have had access to as a first turn player, because holding for 15 is just almost impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is very interesting because it does force those differentials a little bit wider, especially when you don't score well, right? Like if you happen to lose your home or something like that, it puts the game really far out of reach, especially if you're the player going first and your opponent manages to run an advance and charge unit or a fly unit or rapid ingress behind you and get onto your home. Like that is, I would say, in the majority of competitive environments, that's probably the game, unless you're able to do it to your opponent as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is definitely, this is, as most missions are, very primary centric, right? It scores a lot of points, especially after your initial 3 for your home, the 5 points for no man's. They really stack up. But the big thing that I think I have found when it comes to Linchpin is the way it shifts the play style a little bit versus take and hold. Right, a lot of people feel like they're very, very similar. Right, if you can just hold primary, we talked about it. Right, you need to always have denied at least once or twice more than your opponent. If you're going first, you need to get those denials off to make sure that they are behind on primary going into their bottom of turn 5. Right, you have to do those things. The way that I think it's different in Lynchpin, and I think a lot of people don't use to their advantage fully, is really, we talk a lot about rapid ingress always being such a very, very good threat. For armies that can get spread too thin, especially spread thin early, being able to be like, well, I got this deep strike unit off the board that could just drop behind you and has the ability to clear your home objective and knock your primary scoring down to 3 per middle objects for no man's objective, and you just aren't holding your home. Right, that means you're getting 9 VP, even if you're holding all 3 no man's land objectives. If you don't hold your home, that's 9 VP. So having the threat of that is a way to help not only make them take up their own space, keep them at bay, right? But it helps you keep your own natural for longer. They're spending more resources on denying board control against you versus spending those resources to try to knock you off of your own natural. And like while that is important in take and hold, I think it's even more valuable in a mission like Lynchpin, where certain areas of the board, particularly around home objectives, is so much more valuable to control.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have a new or a new tool that we're going to be using today. It's from a website called Rapid Ingress. I found it on Reddit. I'll throw the link down below. I just think it's fun. It's got a nice little visual representation I really like. So we got tipping point pulled up here on layout one. And let's just go over like just some like really basic fundamental things that I think are important for us to realize when we talk about like defending our objectives. Now, first of all, on a layout like layout one, everyone knows, as you are all good stewards and great mastercrafted students, you've watched our layout one video and you've listened to Lane and I talk about how important this area is, as in the middle L, to actually stage units in. Right? It is great units. You can either be fully behind, and as you're seeing here, like nothing can shoot us. Right? We're fully behind the train. There's no line of sights that can draw to us. They have to get fully onto the train to hit us unless they have indirect. It's a great position to be overall. Okay, we got that right off the bat. But if I need to control this objective and I need to touch this and get on here, I need to be super cognizant of the fact that I can just touch the corner of this objective, and there's a world where I can potentially protect myself and still hold this. I won't have great OC on it. I won't have the capabilities to defend this in a meaningful way unless it's a very specific unit. So this objective is actually kind of hard to hold because let's take Lane's Asher Militarum because we've played on this layout plenty of times. His guard can literally just walk onto this objective from the other side and just step onto it and say, okay, I have more OC than you. Like, I don't really care. And I've flipped this and I've done my one denial and I'm following the mastercrafted strategy of, if I'm going first, like I've found a way around it. So this objective overall, right off the bat, is very difficult to hold. There are certain things that we have to do to make sure that we hold it. This has to be like a very specific unit. Either maybe it's got great OC, maybe it has a reactive move when you get within 9. That way you can put more OC on the objective. Maybe it's got mortal wounds when you get within 9 inches, right? Like this has to be a very specific thing. But let's say you don't have any tools like that in your army. What other choices do we have, Lane?
I mean, if you don't have things that can just sit there alone, you need to do the other thing that I do as a guard player, and that's go screen to make sure that the threats they have to counter what you can put on there can't go touch you. A unit of ratlings is a nice fine pairing. They can start in that middle objective and shoot and scoot their tiny little asses out there, get that T2 out, the toughest, meanest line you've ever seen, and just prevent anybody from threatening your natural, right? You
Yeah.
need to have those layers, and it's so good to take space. Especially, I think it's almost it's much stronger on Linchpin to effectively be able to like take that space, because it's one of those things with Linchpin, right? Whenever people feel like their home is threatened and they really have to protect it, right? Like that is puts you in a very dominant position, right? If you're taking the space and then you could maybe, keep throwing the next unit of trash out to guard that space. If you can rapid ingress something behind, we talk a lot about bringing in things behind those 4 by 6 inch ruins on the top and bottom of the board. Instead of being the player who's bringing it on your side, you can bring them in now and potentially like a unit of horses. Horses are now great in guard. I can now rapid ingress a unit of horses behind that ruin, and with +3 to move, you can bet your ass I can get those horses onto your home objective that next turn if I really want to. I'll skirt that building and I will go tag your home and deny you if you are not careful.
Yep. So like Lane's absolutely right. This is not just I protect my natural objective. This is I've created space for my rapid ingress and I've put myself in a position now that my rapid ingress is so incredibly safe, because if we look at a unit like this, like that position right here is so incredibly safe. It is. It's a great position to be in. Let's pull some actual horse bases on here, because the nice part about this is like it's just kind of cool. It's kind of fun to visualize. I use TTS and stuff like that. But if we just talk about where we can put these horses, you can stack them up right here, right? And at the end of the day, like your opponent has to expose themselves to be in there. And Lane, as someone who has ran guard multiple times, like I know there's a Doran sitting here. He is just sitting there and waiting. And
Yeah.
if we have something that is sitting in this channel to try to punish this thing here, because I'm hoping that the rapid ingress comes off, all that happens is the Rogal Doran comes up and shoots the crap out of whatever it is up there.
Yeah. And in my list, there's also probably one behind the middle L that's gonna peak with him. Just so you know. Like it's very true. I like a unit of 5 horses, they're actually I think the like 60 by 35 or whatever.
Oh
Like
yeah, sure.
they're tiny. Like you can fit a 5 man in there super well. And stuff. It's
Lethal.
not even hard there, like to hide there and just threaten that. Like you can tuck in there very, very well and make that uber hard to hit with a little bit of just playing at a slant and running them a certain way. Like
Yep.
you can play that line of sight very very tight with a 5 man and stuff, and like a unit a JPIs or something, right? What most people leave on their home isn't generally that tough on a unit on a mission like Lynchpin, right? As a Marine player, if you've got advance in charge, especially rapid ingress some JPIs right there and go deny their home for a turn. If they have pushed out enough or they're really already in the center, but they don't have many resources actively guarding their home, you should be looking to rapid ingress behind that ruin on layout 1 every chance you get, because you are close enough to strike. And like it's so close. It's really not that far to especially with an advance, a 12-inch move. You have to get one good model up, take the closest line you can, go tag something, do some mortals, clear off their infiltrators, and just be like, oh crap. It's crazy that you now also don't have your 12-inch denial unit sitting back here.
Yeah.
Like, and then you just have more resources that can come. If their army has to turn around to protect their home, right? Like you should be looking to use those things in your army list that you went through construction, right? Try to find places like that when you're looking at these layouts. Hey, man, they like, even if they're maybe not threatening the middle, if they haven't really staged up super effectively to like kind of deny your natural, even when they don't have anything sitting in that shooting lane, because you have a repex sitting where we were talking about my Dorn being, right? They don't want to throw anything out there. You can just rapid ingress in the open. You can almost, if they haven't effectively screened, if they have nothing on the middle objective themselves, and you can basically drop in like in that L, it's still not that far from that center ruin to go run out there and tag your opponent's home. Like
Yeah.
if you have fast resources, it's not always about trading, if because they have to turn around. If they do not turn around to clear you off their home, they are going to score so little primary, right? And I think it's one of those things that I don't see enough people just get locked into. This is how I play take and hold. Every objective is worth the same. And they get more focused on, we talked about the trading game plan, right? Still very good, right? You need to keep that in mind. You need to be processing how you're going to deal with their units effectively throughout the game. But when it comes to scoring, it don't mean shit if you're tabled. If they didn't hold their home for the last 2 turns, they're not going to score any primary comparatively. If you've
Yes.
generally gotten, your 8 to 13 reliably, if you're still denying the other stuff, maybe they hold 2, they're getting 6. They hold 2 in no man's land, they're getting 6 points at best.
Yeah, it's so very good. And Lane, you hit it right on the head. Like at the end of the day, when we talk about trading game plan, when we talk about those rat things that allowed Lane to do this, there are so many different units in the game that do the same job as ratlings, as in, they're gonna be the same ones that are in this position that are out here, after they shoot and scoot, and they're gonna sit on this objective. And sure, they killed nothing. There is nothing that died because of them. They didn't get their points back, technically, and they weren't lethal. They were just out there, and they died the second they went out there. Okay, great. But do you realize the second and third order effects of that unit? Right now, the horses can fit here, and now we can go after our home. And because of that, because the horses are going to be up here. So let's say hypothetically, like Lane gets his stupid horses onto my home, which would never happen. I would never allow Lane to rapid ingress there. Um, but let's say like that was the case. So Lane pushes out, he gets his horses right here. Well, that means that on my opponent's turn, like if I position myself properly, like and I string this out and this is my last unit, and I give myself a little 9-inch bubble, and I still control my home with another 9-inch bubble, you tell me how it is, like if I measure this properly and I get everyone in position, it's like, okay, tell me how you're gonna stop me from doing it again. Because you're not gonna be able to rapid ingress there. You're going to have to send a unit physically out there. If they are not fast enough, you're going to have to advance them. And you are trading a unit for nothing. And you aren't getting the benefit that I'm getting, which was a turn where I can rapid ingress and attack your home. But the domino effects are like the chess effect of I've taken something and now you're on your back foot. And now you have to do things beyond what your is maybe even capable of doing. Like there's some armies that won't be able to get in there at all. And they're just done. The game is over
Yeah.
because once again, you're going to rapid ingress, let's say another unit of horses and just do it again and be like, okay, well, you didn't kill it the first time and you killed the unit of horses that are on there. Doesn't matter. I still rapid ingress another unit behind and I'm going to do it again, right? Or JPI, or Vanguard Vets, or Sangard, or whatever obnoxious crap, Warp Talons in the Near Nightmare Hunt. Like it doesn't matter. That one move. Those Ratlings have won you the game because of that.
Yeah, I think, again, like this stuff especially, it doesn't always, it doesn't come up, especially at higher levels of play. People don't usually leave these gaps in their armor. But I feel like so many times, especially kind of in the mid tables, people just kind of are like, well, I'm gonna play my normal, we're just playing a normal primary mission, and they get lulled into a sense of just security that they can just play like normal. And they're like, well, if somebody charged my home, like I'll just take it back the next turn or whatever. Like they just like don't generally, I don't know, they're not always thinking about like, oh yeah, that could happen and that could be catastrophic. And at the same time, I've left gaps because like I'm just like, well, this player isn't gonna go for that. And it's there. They could easily sometimes rapid ingress and try to take my home on Linchpin, and that would be devastating. And they don't always do it. And it's just, I don't know. I feel like it just isn't seen in play as much as I feel like it should. When it comes to needing to deny those things at the mid tables, and then also in general, just people leaving the threat of something that can do that on this mission, right? Like for me, I generally don't. I've just started looking at running horses again with the new detachment. Like I play very front to back Warhammer with my guard, but like whenever I'm looking at other armies, other versions of playing that, I am always looking at like, hey, if there's Lynchpin or Scorched Earth, things where I can maybe go steal their home and then burn it, right? Like those are tech pieces you need to like have in mind of like, hey man, this could really be something I'd like to have, especially if both are in play. If there's a tournament with both Scorched Earth and Lynchpin, those are two peas in a pod. It's the same goal. Can you get to your opponent's home? If so, and you can do so effectively, you're probably going to win that game. So look for ways to incorporate that into your list.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't explain it any better. Um, I'll throw in a couple other things with Linchpin, especially like any of these missions. There's a lot of layouts that we can use for Linchpin, which is awesome. Um, but the majority of the time, my recommendation for the majority of players is to ignore the center objective. Layout one's not as bad because we can very easily, and we'll pull it up here so you can kind of see. I could very easily get a unit on here and then run the rest of the guys in a position where we're behind the wall. We have great cover. We're an inch off the wall, with our whatever, our space marines or whatever the case is. Like we can very easily get on this and have decent protection because now we're saying, okay, if we take the unit that our opponent can actually see, um, we're not giving great line of sight angles, right? We're not
Mhm.
giving great shooting lines, especially like for whatever's in this corner. If our opponent has a great shooting asset here, right? What we are saying, you have to come all the way out here to actually shoot me. That is, as someone that's likes trading like that or has the shooting capabilities in pretty much every one of my armies is like, yeah, I want you to bring that shooting asset out to reasonably kill whatever I have in no man's land because otherwise I'm just going to score primary. Layout 1 is a mission that you can do that. Layout 8 is also a mission that you could potentially do that because you have those 2-inch wall bricks that are in the middle, right? Like but there are layouts like I think layout 2 and layout 4 and layout 6. Pull those up real quick so you can see is like this is not as good, right? Like even if I put a unit out here and I put myself in a position where, my boys are on this terrain, look at all the shooting lines that we could have that our opponent necessarily doesn't have to expose themselves for. They are in a
Yeah.
much better spot. They can punish this a lot easier than on a layout like layout 1. But even on layout 4, same
Yeah.
scariness applies, right? Like they can get in this bottom objective. They can get on they can get on their home, and they have line of sights within these pieces of terrain that they can really, really punish you for. So the majority of the time, unless it's layout 1 or even like we'll pull up layout 8 real quick. Like layout 8 isn't bad, right? Because I can do this. I can put units out. I can run behind the wall. I can say, okay, here's line of sight for this one guy. Like it's not great. They do have to expose themselves. It's better. I'm a lot more comfortable with this than I would be on any of those other layouts.
Yeah. Yeah, it's still very aggressive positions for the most part that they have to go stand in to get lines on that, which are tradable. Again, yeah, they're layout 1, you're never going to beat layout 1 for being able to force certain lines. It's honestly one of the most favorable center objective uh layouts for sure, especially for more melee oriented armies. You could just
Yeah.
pack so much into that L and threaten so much. Um very solid. Yeah, it's just good. I think the only missions that are, or I should say, the only layouts that this is generally played on, or deployments, I should say. We have Tipping Point, Search and Destroy, and Dawn of War are the only three that are in the chapter approved.
Yeah.
You know, I do think, if you see this on Dawn of War, sick, hold your half of the board, run right across the middle, right? You don't care about the sides, right? You're just forcing everything down the middle. Forget what he just said. No, I'm just kidding. It's so layout dependent, especially on that. Dawn of War just sucks. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's not worth our time. It doesn't exist. We're talking about Search and Destroy and Tipping Point. Yeah, it's very good. I do think, to bring it back and stop digressing, I agree with Phil. The middle, you're looking more to deny the middle more than anything, right? Unless you're focusing on maybe setting some tempo or things like that. But like, your plan isn't to hold the middle. Your plan is to deny the middle, right? And then you can set tempo in various ways, and that's a whole different discussion aside from your actual scoring game plan. In this, I think it is generally a little bit more favorable of a mission where, like, again, it's always layout dependent, but having game plans where you can push past your natural, really overload, make sure you're not going to get denied yourself, and then potentially push for their home, put that pressure on, especially if you have an army that's not going to get bogged down with like having big monsters or vehicles that can't move through terrain. If you have a fairly mobile army, if they deploy heavily to kind of like that mid board and they maybe aren't fast enough to really respond, if you are rapid ingressing and doing what we talked about, you can go bully your opponent off of their home and make them make the decision. Is their slow army going to be able to go try to slog across the board to deny you? Or are they going to turn around and try to take back their own home to still just lose the game because they've already messed up at that point, right? Like, you can really just force overload with a rapid ingress off the side of the board, wherever units in that middle terrain piece. If you have that speed, put the pressure. You don't have to put pressure on their natural, especially on Search and Destroy. It's not. You're going to be staging in that middle ruin anyway. Is it easier for you to go deny their natural, or is it easier for you to just wheel around the board and go deny their home? Right? Like, this is again. It all depends on army construction. If you're playing Blood Angels, go take their home. You have no reason not to. You're literally just fucking jump pack infantry. They can't even screen you. They can't stop you to a certain extent.
Yeah.
You should be wheeling the board every time you see Lynchpin. Every time.
So, like, if we measure, right, if we're all the way back behind this piece of terrain, like 16 inches gets us to right there, but we can very easily go from back here all the way to our opponent's deployment zone. That's 22 inches. If you move 12 base and you have advance and charge, right? So 12, let's say you roll an average of 3, 15. That means you have a 7-inch charge to flip your opponent's natural. And that's saying that they haven't put anything, that's saying they've put nothing behind this wall to actually stop you. If there's anything behind this wall that's doing their inch off the wall trick, like, you don't care. You just put your unit here and then you charge across this way, because pretty much every layout, the GW approved layouts, there's a gap here. There is not a wall here. So if you end right here, you charge here, guess what? Your Blood Angels, guess what? Your World Leaders, guess what? Your Orcs, you wipe out whatever's here and then you consolidate on the objective. And even if you don't, hopefully you kill enough that you auto see whatever's on their home. congratulations, you are in a better position to win the game.
And that was measuring from completely behind the center L.
Yeah.
That's not
Yep.
even having anything staged in the ruin. Like that's a 15-inch, and you're just on their like on their home if you're in that corner. You
Yeah. So
know,
if you're like, let's say you're there, yeah, like 16 inches. You move 12
like
back.
yeah, you need to be aware of that. Like not only as a player, this is maybe your wake up call. If you're watching this, like, oh man, I maybe should really be worried about how fast those armies are, and how much I actually really need to screen my home on Lynchpin
Yep.
against jump pack infantry or things that can pile in and move through models and charge through models like orcs, like Phil was saying. It is a mission that the armies that can do the thing, I hardly see abuse it to really just outscore their opponent. They just play
That's why.
normal Warhammer for no reason.
Yeah. So let's harken back to one of our other videos. Let's say hypothetically we're playing Black Templars because we still think they're good, and I have a Rep-X or I have an Impulsor that is right here, which is feels like a pretty good place to put a Rep-X or Impulsor. I would be pretty happy with that. You get out with your dumb um, assault intercessors because you downgraded in points. That's fine. I'm super happy for you. Like, it's okay. But we're fully behind this train. And let's say we want to go our 9 inches and we advance them because we took advance in charge and we get our +3. So we're at 12. So that means we're already here. Like, this is where we can get to with an average roll, which means if our opponent is doing what we expect of being an inch off the wall, and let's say we need to get like in that corner. 6-inch charge. Hopefully you've saved the CP. Assault intercessors, if they're being smart and maybe they have a unit, like a model on that objective. So now you get full rerolls to wound. Now you get +1 to wound if they're T4 or above. I
Yeah.
mean, and you
Or
have a
maybe
character
that's
in
your
there too.
Emperor's Champion unit who has an
Yep.
extra 2 inches of movement. That's a 5-inch charge now.
Yep.
It's not even jump pack infantry. And most armies don't have the ability to just put models out willy nilly to screen that line off.
And that's like one tool for an army that will allow you to win a game. And just the threat of it, like, okay, Lane is right. Like, the majority of players are going to put things in the way. They're going to try to stop it. They're going to do whatever. Fine. But the act of them attempting to stop it is what you need to play off of. So if our opponent does what we expect of like, hey, they're a good opponent. Maybe they string out their own unit and they're like, okay, I'm not, I can tell you're staged to go after my home. I'm going to make sure you can't. Maybe this is a unit with, it's not a unit with fly. It's infantry. They're super fast, but they have to go around. Great. Now I'm in a position where I can't get after my home. Well, that means my opponent has given me an asset inside pretty much their deployment zone, and it's not allowing them to punch up. So there's value in them trying to stop you, and there's also value in them not doing the thing to stop you. You just have to realize what's happening and play off one or the other.
Right. And that's also assuming, right, if this is a Black Templar reference while y'all are dooming, that you didn't just say, hey, I'm going to spend a CP and overwatch your guard squad and leave 3 models left. Sounds like a pretty shitty fucking screen to me. But, you're not going to have much of a screen if you're playing Black Templars and you overwatch. Like, you'll still be able to go touch that because they're not going to have enough models left to do anything.
Yep. It's really Lynchpin can be one of those things, as Lane said, is kind of like punishes newer players because you don't realize how important your home is, and it's like, oh, it's just, one turn. It's like, no, actually, like you you may control one objective, but now that one objective is worth 3 versus 5. So now you're scoring 3 primary on a turn where you were expecting to control 8 to score 8 total, right?
Yeah.
And that's really tough. Really tough.
100%. All right. I think we nailed it. I think that was a great video, great examples, and we just want to hear more Black Templar Doom in the comments below. We haven't got enough. It's basically sustaining us at this point. That's all I've eaten for the past 2 weeks. Yeah, it's tasty. But on a more serious note, thank you all for liking, subscribing, following, whatever. Ring those bells. All the YouTube jargon that we need. Please comment. Thank you all. Have a happy holidays, happy New Year, and yeah, Phil, anything else?
No. Keep getting better at 40k. Use this time to get better. Watch a bunch of Mastercrafted videos. That way, when you come back, you are prepared to play some great 40k because there is more content to come.
Yes. Merry Craftmas to everybody. We're going to be here for years to come and bring y'all hopefully some more great content. And do not forget that victory is not given, it is forged, and it's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We'll see y'all next time.